If you enjoy this video, please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you like what you see on my channel and would like to support me on Patreon, click on the link below. In 1977, 20th Century Fox released two films. One of them, which the studio thought would be a major flop, turned out being a major hit, and surprisingly blowing the studio's low expectations out of the water, and was an industry-changing sensation all around the world, bringing major success to the studio. That movie was Star Wars. The other was a post-apocalyptic adventure film called Damnation Alley, which would be overshadowed by the success of Star Wars, only lasting a very short time in cinemas. Fox had high expectations for Damnation Alley, which they thought would be a major blockbuster. Unfortunately, it turned out being the studio's biggest disappointment of 1977. The film was originally published as a short story in the October 1967 issue of Galaxy magazine, which was later expanded into a novel in 1969 titled Damnation Alley by Roger Zelazny. The original story was changed considerably in the final script. Zelazny was very happy with the first draft of the script, written by Lucas Heller. Fox hired Alan Sharp to write a completely different version, leaving out many major elements from the original novel. Originally, Alan Sharp, a producer and co-screenwriter for Damnation Alley, rewrote the original script, which he wanted to have a darker ending. Zelazny would not realize this until he saw the final movie in the cinema. He hated the film after parts that he requested to be in the film were taken out. Jack Smite, director of many films including the box office hits Midway and Airport 1975, was hired to direct. Robert Wise was originally approached to direct, but turned the job down, mainly because he thought the script would be impossible to film, and he would turn out being right. The film had quite a star lineup, with Jan Michael Vincent as First Lieutenant Jake Tanner, George Peppard as Major Eugene Denton, actress Dominique Sander, Paul Winfield as Keegan, and Jack L. Haley as Billy. Murray Hamilton from Jaws would make a short, uncredited appearance as General Landers in the beginning of the film and had no dialogue whatsoever. In the 1983 television premiere, previously deleted scenes where Hamilton has dialogue was inserted. Originally, Steve McQueen wanted to do the film, but he wanted $2 million, but the studio couldn't afford it, so he walked away from the project. The film would be set in a post-apocalyptic world about a small group of survivors who survive a major nuclear explosion and drive across a desolate wasteland in an all-terrain RV, facing all kinds of dangers, from major storms to mutant killer bugs, in order to find more survivors. The film would take place in the year 1979. Damnation Alley was budgeted at $17 million, a very large budget for that time. Unfortunately, it would be money wasted. Filming began in July of 1976. A missile-based set was constructed in the Imperial Valley in Southern California, as well as locations around Meteor Crater, Arizona, Salt Lake City, Utah, and the Mojave Desert in California. The production of Damnation Alley was full of problems from the start, and a lot of the effects, not just the landscape backdrops, but the giant mutant bugs, seemed impossible to create, regardless of the large budget. For example, in a scene involving giant 8-foot-long scorpions attacking a motorcycle, first was attempted. They used full-scale scorpion props that did not work, and the resulting footage turned out terribly and was unusable. So the director's idea was to use real scorpions and composite them into the scene using blue screen in post-production. Another scene used a combination of real-life Madagascar hissing cockroaches. 300 male cockroaches were used to prevent them from reproducing, and a large amount of rubber bugs, which looked extremely unconvincing on film as the strings pulling mats covered in fake insects were visible. The main centerpiece of the film is the 12-wheeler, 7-ton Landmaster RV, which is probably the only thing that really works in the movie. The Landmaster vehicle was so convincing to Fox that they demanded more shots of the vehicle. The Landmaster was custom made for the film by Dean Jeffries and cost $350,000.
This vehicle was a complete different type of functional vehicle because it turned in the middle. It didn't turn left and right and forward, left and right and backwards and all that stuff. This turned right straight in the middle, and the whole vehicle twisted right in the section. And from that is how it turned. It had 12 wheels on it. There was absolutely no other way than the wheels itself flipping. There was no springs, no shocks, no nothing like that. For what we had to do into the rough terrains, I mean, it had to float, it had to go out to the dry lakes. But there was 3 miniatures that we did a lot where it was supposed to float, because when you're getting 22,000 pounds and make it float, pretty hard to do. It's all steel.
The same vehicle would be seen in the movie Apex in 1994. A similar model of the Landmaster was used in the series Arc 2. The studio added radioactive skies in post-production to add more visual excitement to the film, showing a more post-apocalyptic world. The majority of Damnation Alley was shot in continuity. Actor Jan-Michael Vincent also did a great amount of his own motorcycle stunts. Post-production would be a difficult process, and after the release of Star Wars, which was a major hit for the studio in 1977, Fox was worried that Damnation Alley would look cheap, so more work had to be done on the film, and the film ended up being in post-production for more than 10 months, which was mainly because the effects crew had to perfect the superimposed optical effects in the sky, which would make up about 80% of the shots. This time-consuming process kept the film in post-production much longer than it needed to be. Damnation Alley was originally planned for a 1976 Christmas release, but had to be pushed for an October 1977 release. During post-production, control was taken from director Smite and given to Fox Studios so they could focus more on the Landmaster scenes and the special effects. Most of the deleted scenes and alternate scenes were inserted into the 1983 US television version. During post-production, most of the scenes pivotal to the storyline were cut. Damnation Alley was finally released on October the 21st of 1977. The film was presented in some theatres in high-impact sound, a process called Sound 360. The reviews for the film were terrible, and the film had very poor box office returns. Damnation Alley was a half-hearted attempt by the studio and the filmmakers to actually do a half-decent film, and some of the characters are very unlikable, especially George Peppard, and the film doesn't really make me care about the characters and their outcome, all except maybe Paul Winfield and Jan-Michael Vincent, who have a bit of charm about their characters. And the film falls into B-movie territory with the terrible special effects, which don't look convincing at all. Screenwriter Alan Sharp, known for his quality script work, even today avoids or fails to mention Damnation Alley as part of his resume. There are a handful of great scenes. The bug scene is cool, and the Landmaster scenes are enjoyable. One of the saving graces for me is the great score by Jerry Goldsmith, which helps the movie get going a little more. It's just sad they couldn't do anything more with this film. Damnation Alley isn't all that bad, but it isn't all that good either. That's the problem. This is Jonathan. Thanks for watching.